Erev Tov, everyone. It is Tuesday night. It is 8 p.m. here on the east side of the United States, here in the diaspora. This is the Maimon Beit Knesset, and therefore it must be the Rabbis Discuss, and whatever it is that the rabbis decide to discuss. Tonight we're going to take a look at the history of Israel, brief history of Israel, from the past to the present in maps, to give you a much better idea of what's going on over there right now. Let me bring in our co-host, Rabbi Ancel. You are on, sir.
Shalom, everybody, and welcome.
So we were talking about Rabbi Craig just before we went on, and he was the first one in the chat room.
Shalom, Rabbi Craig.
So Rabbi Craig and Marshall and Adrian and Muddy Acres and Adrian. So we, not bad for the start. More will be filtering in as we get going, and people remember that we're actually on. So anyway, like I said, we're going to be looking at Israel throughout the ages. We're going to start right back from the promise to Abraham by God, and we're going to come all the way up to the present time, and actually we're going to look at some of the maps of what's actually going on currently. And a little bit of other information. So anything we need to talk about before we get started? No?
No.
Okay.
Unless somebody has
Richard has joined us. Good to see you, Richard. Regina is in the house. Good to have you. Okay, so let's get started here. And let me, I'm going to take your picture down and put up my PowerPoint presentation. Okay, there we go. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to kind of give you an understanding of Israel and the threats by Hamas and Hezbollah mainly. Okay, and so let's first understand Israel today. So here's a current map of Israel. As you can see, there's the Israel. Up here is Lebanon, Syria over here. Jordan, of course, on this side, and then Egypt, or Mitzrayim, over here. This is the Dead Sea here. I want you to pay particular attention to the Dead Sea, where it's located, and where Israel actually extends down here to the Red Sea here. So, okay. So this map represents the land that was promised to Abraham by God. As you can see, it's significant because right in here, this little tiny strip right here is currently the state of Israel right here. Okay, so we know that we have part of Egypt, part of Saudi Arabia and Iraq, Syria, and all of Lebanon. And that's what God has promised us. We know that at some point in our history that is what the land of Israel will actually contain. Probably in the time of Mashiach. May he come soon and in our days. So the next map we're going to look at how the land was actually divided up between the 12 tribes. So as you can see here again is the Jordan River and the Dead Sea, again, down here. And you can see that Asher and Naphtali.
That's me.
Yeah. Menashe and, the divided Menashe with God in between Ephraim and Benjamin and Reuben and stuff. You can see it actually extends into what is actually Jordan and Syria today. And again, noticing the Dead Sea here and where the southern part of the tribes of basically Judah extends down below there.
Into Egypt.
Yeah, I don't think it actually quite comes into Egypt at that point. Yeah, you know what? It may actually. I think Egypt's border is somewhere around here. Anyway, okay, so later on we have the divided kingdoms of Egypt, of Israel. We have Israel in the north, and again you can see Israel starting at the Dead Sea, going up the Jordan, all the way up into Lebanon, which was Phoenicia at that point, and Syria and Jordan, where Syria and Jordan are now, parts of that. And then we have, again, Judah in the south, and again, extending down below the Dead Sea. We don't get the full picture of Judah from this map. It's the best one I could find, the cleanest one I could find, I should say. And then we have, here's Philistia. And that's where that term Palestine or Palestinian actually comes from. Philistia, and Adrian, you can correct me if I'm wrong because you know about this pretty good. Philistia was actually Greece. They were actually Greeks.
Yep.
They had established Philistia as basically a trading port. It was their entry into the Middle East, and from there they could ship, goods from the Middle East to Greece, and then from Greece back into the Middle East, and back and forth there. This next map. Okay, so during the time of the Roman conquest, and at the time of the second diaspora, the first one being the exile to Babylonia, at that time, this is the map showing this over a period of time, Rome making this, changing the name actually to Syria Palestina. Which was, again, that was a famous trick by Rome, was to take away a people's identity. They would come into a land, conquer it, and they would actually change the name of the land to take away their identity. So they really no longer, they were disconnected from the land. So if we look at this compared to modern day Israel, you can see that this actually extends down into Egypt. It goes to the south to the Dead Sea, part of the Dead Sea, to Idumea. It goes actually into what is now Jordan, goes into what is now Syria and actually extends over into Iran. Again, this map isn't a full map, but it'll give you an idea. Coming up here into part of what is Lebanon now. So you can see this was actually, it was never actually a land. It was never actually a people. Syria Palestina was what Rome called a protectorate, which is a funny name for a land that you conquered and that you rule over, and you call it, well, we won't call it a country, we'll just call it we'll protect it. Kind of like the mafia, right? You pay them protection money. It's essentially on a larger scale is what Rome was doing. You know, you pay us a tribute, and we'll protect you, and we'll basically strip the land of anything that we may necessarily want. So that's just the way it is. So going on into the future, now there's been numerous other, as Rabbi Craig pointed out in last week's session, that we had a series of other conquerors and names given to the land and stuff by the Byzantines, various caliphdoms, the Umayyad caliphdom being one of the biggest, and two or three other ones in between there, all the way to the Ottoman Empire. And then we get to, and at no point was it ever, the area ever called Palestine. It was never a region. And, just to clarify, there has always been a Jewish presence in the land since crossing the Jordan River into the land, at the death of Moses, Rabbeinu, that there's always been a Jewish presence in the land. Even during the Babylonian exile, there was a Jewish presence in Israel. And we know this because we have the Babylonian Talmud. And we have the Jerusalem Talmud, or the Talmud Yerushalmi, which was two schools, one in Babylon and one in Safed, I believe.
Safed.
Yeah, Safed, where the two schools, and they were trying to codify the law and stuff like that, and they were developing the two Talmuds, and they were actually exchanging information back and forth. So they were traveling kind of freely between Babylon and Israel. But there was a major population in Israel during the Babylonian exile, even during the Roman diaspora, when Roman had taken the Jews out of the land, dispersed them. There was still a Jewish presence. There has always been a Jewish presence in the land. So I'm saying, well, and Jews were never there, after a certain time. No, that's actually not true. They've always been there. Okay, so along comes World War I, and the British Empire, who had defeated the Ottoman Empire, and they had this Palestinian mandate under the Balfour Declaration. They determined that the Jews did need a land, a home of their own, to reestablish them in the land, into their ancestral land. So, under the League of Nations, they were given the burden of establishing a Jewish homeland, and at that point too, the map of the Middle East is redrawn. It's redrawn by none other than Churchill. Winston Churchill redrew the map of the Middle East, and basically created countries. Some countries that were there: Syria, of course; Lebanon, of course; But other countries that never existed were automatically somehow just magically created and given certain portions of land. I know the Macedonians were fairly upset about it because the Macedonian land just kind of disappeared after the redrawing of the map.
Yeah, they stole a piece of land from, actually a province from Iraq, and they called it Kuwait, which never existed. And then you have the other states that were formed, Qatar, United Emirates, and all these. But
Yeah.
they came a little bit later.
So let me see. Rabbi Wyckoff has something in here. A very interesting book written in the 1600s called Palestina Ex Monumentus Verbatus Illustrata. Oh, wow. Glad I got that out. Said it breaks down the area by ethnic groups, town names, and religions. It shows that very few people lived in the area. That's right. Actually, during the later time, Israel and that region was basically the Middle East Botany Bay. For those I know, Adrian knows what I'm talking about, but for those of you who don't, Botany Bay was a prison colony where England would send their undesirables to Australia to Botany Bay. Well, Israel, Gaza, that whole region was considered the Middle East Botany Bay. They would send their undesirables to there because basically the land wasn't not many people there. It was pretty much, under the Arabs and everything, pretty much a wasteland. So they would just get their troublemakers and send them over there. Let's see. Rabbi Craig says that. Let's see. Crystal, Muddy Acres. Crystal, is my honey hookup. Let me fix this. Bye-bye. There we go. Okay, we won't be disturbed again. Crystal, who I get honey from all the time. Great honey. Anyway, she says a lot of chatter amongst the QAnon talking heads as of late that the Balfour Declaration, 100 lease of the Israel land expiring supposedly today. Nah, that's not actually true. So interesting. Okay. So Adrian's gonna try and find out for us. Rabbi Craig says that most cities had Hebrew names and Greek names or Roman names. During the various occupations, the majority population were Jews, and there were some Christians. And most of the Arabs, except for the Bedouin, were migrant workers. Okay, so under the League of Nations, which if the League of Nations had their if it hadn't been for France, Israel would have been established right after World War I, except the French had to mess the whole deal up. Even the Arabs had agreed to it. But the French said no. French being the French, what can you say? Okay, so this is the original Palestine mandate under the British mandate. As you can see here, we have Lebanon up here in the north. You see that we have all of this land, the Jordan River, the Dead Sea, all the way down to the Gulf of Aqaba, and all of what is now Jordan. And look here, up here, this is the Golan Heights up here. You can see that's actually part of the original mandate. So we go on. This was done in 1920. 2 years later, we have the Hashemites, who are supposedly the direct descendants of Muhammad through his son Hassan. They just said, well, we gave you support during World War One. That you promised us, made certain promises to us. We want to reestablish the Hashemite kingdom. So, along about 1922, to placate them, they took away 75% of what was the original British mandate for a Jewish homeland.
It became Jordan.
Yes? What was that?
And it became Jordan, that piece of land.
It became Jordan. Originally, it became Transjordan.
Yeah.
Okay, so 77%, they took 77% of it away from the Jews and gave it to the Arabs who said they were the Hashemites. Okay, I want you to notice too, in this map here from 1922, you can see the Golan Heights are still part of that original mandate, the Jewish Palestine. Okay, so it still belongs to Israel. Now, just in case, I want you to understand that even under the Palestinian mandate, Palestine had a flag. Actually had a flag. Not a lot of people know this, but they actually had a flag, and the flag of Palestine, this is from a French dictionary from 1939, showing the flag of Palestine being this blue and white flag with the gold star of David in the center of it. So whose land is it? Who are the Palestinians? Seems pretty clear by this, doesn't it? Okay, let's catch up in the chat room here. Rabbi Craig says, in Jerusalem, there were about 5,000 people, almost all Jews and a few Christians, in 1695. Everyone knew that the origin of the country was Jewish. Yeah. Even at that point, and even going all the way up to the War of Independence, the Temple Mount, where the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque is now, I mean, basically they were there, but the whole Temple Mount was overgrown. The Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque were in ruins. It was falling apart and stuff, and it was only until Israel got their independence that the Muslims started crying foul and saying this is ours, and you're taking it away from us and stuff like that. They really didn't care about it until then. I mean, it was visited by a few Muslims in the area, but other than that, it was pretty much left to rot. So, Rabbi Craig also says that book that we mentioned before with that long name completely refutes theories about Palestinian traditions and Palestinian people, and leaves almost. Why don't we just bring Rabbi Craig in? Hang on, just a minute. Let's just do something smart here and get Rabbi Craig in here. Okay, let's see. Now I got to find my call. It's here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Let's add Rabbi Craig here.
I second the motion.
Yeah, if he's going to be adding all this commentary in here, we might as well just go ahead and bring him in.
Why not?
See if we can get him to answer. Well, give him a minute. It's calling.
Hey, I didn't want to come on because I'm going to be in and out.
Well,
There he
as
is.
long as
Oh,
in and out, it's fine. That's fine. In and out is fine. We'll take it.
Because I have a kind of busy with a couple things here.
Well, you stay as long as you can. When you can't, you just go ahead and leave.
Perfect.
Okay. So, yeah, so we were leaving out this book you were talking about.
Correct. The guy is a geographer, and it was written in the 1600s, and it follows the history of that. He's a historian, and he basically follows the history of that area to disprove this whole lie that has been being fed to the world for the last however 30 years, that Israel has been losing this public relations war, proving that it's all lies. He shows that you go back to the beginning of time when the Jews inhabited that land. There were no, like, I wanted to jump in and correct it, there were no permanent Arabs living in that land. What I was trying to say, there were no Arabs that settled there. The only Arabs that were there at that time were Bedouins,
Mm-hmm.
They were nomads.
and they were nomads, but the Jews were agriculturally sophisticated, and they hired these Arabs to come in like migrant workers. And if you look at all the
They still
original,
do.
yeah, but if you look at the original names of the cities, that are there, you find that none of them have Arabic roots. Most of them have Hebrew roots, which kind of prove that these are all settled by Jews, and some of them have Latin roots for the Romans,
Right.
and others
Tiberius being one
have Greek roots for the Greeks from when they were in control.
from the Hellenist period.
But the majority, I was trying to find. I posted this on Facebook the other day, and I'm trying to find what I posted because it lists. There was one exception. There were like 200 people in this one city. I think it's Ramla, but I could be wrong.
Ramla. Yes,
And,
you're
and
right.
that's the only city from that time that had a population of like 200 that had an Arabic name.
Okay, so again, so we know that there was an official flag of Palestine, and the official flag of Palestine was pretty, close to what we actually have for the state of Israel today. It was half blue, half white, and with the gold star of David in the middle. So the next slide here, let's see. Okay, we're coming back to the map of Israel again, so that we get an idea of where are we at now. Okay, so here is Israel again. Here's the place they call the West Bank and Gaza over here, Lebanon, Syria, and Jordan, and Egypt. Okay, so the Arabs are constantly complaining about Jews being in Israel. They want that land. They want that land. Okay, so let's take a look. What does the Muslim world have? This is the Muslim world. This little tiny speck of red that you see right here is Israel. So they say that they don't have enough land, they have to have Israel too. I mean, all of this land, all of northern Africa, Turkey, Iran, Kazakhstan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and other places, these little spot here between India and China, and these islands around Java and so on, all Muslim areas, but still, they say they don't have enough land. They have to have Israel too. So I just want you to have an idea of what they're complaining about and how ridiculous that complaint really is. Okay, so we come up to today, and we're coming down to the southwest of of Israel. Again, bring the map up. We're talking about this region right here. Region is called Gaza. Okay. And you see the Gaza area is in this reddish color here. What I want you to see here is this red dotted line. This is the incursion into Israel on Simchat Torah on October 7th. You can see how far they actually came into Israel and attacked into Israel, splitting several of these major cities throughout. And the others I can't read it; it's too small. Basically splitting them in half. Now, since then, they've driven back the Hamas back into Gaza, but they've established this area in yellow that you see surrounding Gaza is it's basically an exclusion zone. It's an evacuation area where most of the population has been evacuated out of that area to allow Israel to actually operate in that area to make sure that that area is secure and protect the people that were, be able to have an area to be able to operate in freely without having to worry about civilians. So the next slide here, this is very interesting here. Okay, Hamas has at least 4 different kinds of missiles that are actually manufactured in Iran, that Iran is supplying them. Now what you see here is these various missile types, and then you see these dotted lines here. So this Qassam rocket here has this range here, this first dotted line here, almost to Tel Aviv, not quite. Okay, the Grad missile, the next largest one, you can see is this next dotted line, which does take in Tel Aviv and Beersheba. The next one that they have is the M75. That has a range covering most all the way to the Dead Sea. And
Syrian made.
Pardon?
That is Syrian made.
Yeah, and going into Jerusalem. And then they have the M302, which you can see covers just about all of Israel going into Jordan, except the very southern tip of Israel and the very northern edge of Israel. So you can see Hamas basically can wreak havoc throughout Israel, pretty much. I mean, they're the M302 can reach all the way past Haifa, which is way up in the north. Okay, so speaking of the north, this next map is a map of currently the northern Israel. The yellow portion here is Lebanon. Blue is Israel. This light blue area here is the Golan Heights. Now, if you remember, when we go back to the Palestinian mandate, under the British mandate for Palestine, that the Golan Heights has always been part of Israel. Okay, so you can see here, this dark blue dotted line here, again, is an evacuation zone. It's an exclusionary zone. People have been evacuated from that area to allow the military, Israel's military, to operate freely in this area because, of course, Hezbollah has decided they want to get into the action, and they've been lobbing rockets in also. Now, whoop, got a little too far there. Okay. Lebanon is an interesting place. you can see that. Oh, did we lose Rabbi Craig?
Hmm.
No. Okay. Well, let's see what Rabbi Craig has. He's back in the chat room. Back then, Gaza was occupied by the refugees that fled into the area from Syria, Egypt, Lebanon, Iraq during the Six-Day War. Their countries would not let them return because they had to have refugees. The people in Gaza are the longest, and in the what they call the West Bank, the longest people who have been refugees in the world. Everybody else under international law has been absorbed into their country, into the countries that they've been in, except the UN wants to keep these people as refugees because they can use them as a stick to beat on Israel. So this map shows the regions of Lebanon that are actually controlled by Hezbollah. So you can see here's
because a part of it is Christian.
yes,
The
yes.
southern part of
Yeah, we'll
Sorry?
get into that in just a minute. But you can see the southern part is controlled by Hezbollah. This large portion in the northeast is controlled by Hezbollah. And then there's a little spit here around Beirut that's controlled by Hezbollah. Okay, this white area is essentially the area that is actually controlled by the Lebanese government. Controlled kind of in a loose sense. Controlled by the Lebanese government. Okay, so this next map, this one shows how Lebanon is broken up by groups of people. Because you have Sunnis, you have Shia, you have Christians, and you have Druze in Lebanon, and they have their regions. So this blue area is the Sunni. And then you have the brown area, which is the Shia, which is where Hamas is. You can see here. The Christians have these light blue areas. So you can see there's light blue areas that are hash marked in here and hash marked down here. Well, these areas here, like this strip here, is Christians, but it's, you have Hezbollah in there also. Down here on the south, along the border with Israel, this area is under the control of Hezbollah, and they are just making the Christians' life absolutely untenable. Gabrielle, she's a famous person who's on the news a lot. Her family was actually from that region. She actually has some horrific stories of how the Christians are actually treated and how they're actually being used as human shields by Hezbollah. Up here we have the Druze section here, and then here you have a mix of Druze and Christians, and up here you have the Christians, and again you have a mix in there with the Sunni. So you can see it's kind of divided up by groups, but you have Hezbollah just actually wreaking havoc in there. You see, according to this map, they have the Golan Heights as a disputed area. It's not disputed. It belongs to Israel. Always has. So this map, now we talked about the rockets, excuse me, the rockets that Hamas has. The Hezbollah has rockets too. They have different kinds of rockets. They have their rockets are supposedly being supplied to them by Syria. But they have four kinds of rockets. They have the Fatah rocket, and then they have three types of Scud missiles. Now, we've heard Scud missiles before. Scud missiles from Iraq. You know, when Saddam Hussein was lobbing Scud missiles towards Israel back before, while he was still alive. But again, we can see the ranges here. The Fatah missile, and there's two lines for each rocket, and it actually depends on whether it's being fired from this region down here or whether it's being fired from this region up here. So they have two different ranges on there. But as you can see, the Fatah rocket actually has a pretty long range. It can reach all the way to Jerusalem. You know, even from being fired in the north of Lebanon, it can reach Jerusalem. Then we get into the Scud C, D, and E, or is it B, C, and Ds? And when we get to the Scud D, as you can see here, this thing can reach all the way into Egypt, all the way into Iraq, all the way up into Turkey, a significant portion up into Turkey. It has a very long range. So again, you know, just for the to the Scud C missile actually encompasses all of Israel. The Scud B actually does reach all of Israel except for the very southern tip of the Negev. So why is Israel, you know, why do they have to be going after Hezbollah and Hamas? Because of this, and because of this. They have no choice. It's either they defend themselves and die, or die.
Most people don't realize that from the border of the northern part of Israel with Lebanon, it's called Rosh Hashanah, the tip of the
Bridget Gabrielle, thank you, Crystal.
100 kilometers.
Yeah, thank you, Crystal. She, the person I was thinking about that lived in that region of southern Lebanon, under the Hezbollah. Her name is Bridget Gabrielle, and she's written some amazing books about her family, what they had to go through living in that area. But we were talking about this last night. We were talking about flight times, right? From the border at Lebanon all the way to the southern tip of Israel. And we say, if you were just taking a leisurely flight, how long would that flight be?
From the border of Israel to Beirut, which is the capital of Lebanon, it would take, depending on if you fly an F-14 or an F-16, about 10 minutes.
Okay, no, but what I'm talking about is from the north of Israel to the south of Israel, what would a leisurely, let's say a commercial jet flight, how long would it take a commercial jet flight to fly from the
Rosh Hashanah to Eilat?
Yeah.
An hour and a half max.
Hour and a half. That's not very far. Crystal says it's a 6-hour drive from north to south.
Yeah, driving, yes.
Yeah. So it gives you an idea of how, I mean, you know, from where I live in Michigan to New York City to Manhattan Island is 12 hours. And I can do that in one day. Yeah.
You have one main road in Israel that leads from top to bottom.
Right.
So
now, width-wise, Israel is not very wide either. And hence why...
Like from the border, it's the same thing like from the border, the northern border of Israel, for a fighter jet to fly to Beirut, 6 to 10 minutes. It's 100 kilometers, 60 clicks.
Yeah, it's not.
There's not, the distances are nothing.
Israel is not a big country, and yet the Muslims say this isn't enough for them. They need to have this little spit of red in here because they don't have enough of all this green.
They don't have to do anything.
Now, since Israel disengaged from Gaza in 2005, Hamas and Islamic Jihad have launched over 17,000 rockets into Israel, targeting, and their targets are not military. Their targets are men, women, children, hospitals, schools, grocery stores, restaurants, synagogues.
They don't care.
They are looking to kill innocent civilians. That's their whole thing. Okay, would any other country on the face of this earth, I mean, would the United States, if Mexico was lobbing 17,000 missiles into the United States, would the United States just sit back and say, oh, well? Yet, the world and the United Nations condemns Israel for protecting its citizens, and that includes not just Jews, but Muslims and Christians and others. Druze, there are Druze in Israel. Aryel and I assume Zev have joined us. So okay, so this next slide. Now, this is one of the things we always are hearing about the poor Palestinian, innocent Palestinians are being killed by Israel and stuff like that. The majority of them are being killed by Hamas and Islamic Jihad. Between 16 and 20% of the rockets that are launched by Hamas and Islamic Jihad don't ever make it out of Gaza. It actually falls in Gaza and kills their own people. But then again, they want to kill their own people because they can use it for propaganda in the press. So you can see all these places in red are rocket launch sites, and the blue are the points of impact. So you can see they're killing their own people. And the Western media is all too happy to oblige them by grabbing onto their what do they call it? Pallywood. Pallywood. The videos where you see the people laying there, and then the next thing somebody's itching their nose, or somebody gets up and walks off, or something like this. These poor dead people who are still somehow mobile and can walk around and, talk on their phone, smoke, and whatever. So, as I said, we have no choice but to fight. This was posted by the IDF. And this is just going to show you just to the extent of the horror that we are not hearing about in the United States. This post says it would have been a photo of a lifeless pregnant woman next to her beheaded unborn baby cut out of her belly by Hamas terrorists. Due to this platform's guidelines, we cannot show you that. Next one is, this would have been a photo of a nursery covered in blood of dead babies murdered in their cribs by Hamas terrorists. And again, due to this platform's guidelines, we cannot show you that. We're not seeing the pictures of what actually happened there. Israel, the IDF,
Nazi Germany.
Yeah, the IDF brought 200 journalists from around the world in and showed them these pictures of all the massacres and stuff. Some of the people, some of those reporters wept openly. Some of them had to leave. They couldn't take it anymore. But those pictures are not being talked about in the world press. In fact, the BBC is probably one of the worst offenders of being, downplaying what happened in Israel and upplaying anything that happens in Gaza to Hamas. But to conclude this, we will prevail. Am Yisrael High. We are going to take our break, give you a chance to kind of digest what you've seen. I will make this PowerPoint presentation available to anybody who would want it to use for educational purposes or anything like that. So let's go ahead and I'm going to turn you down right now, Ancel. So let's take our break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about what the current situation is in Israel right now. So please, everybody stay tuned.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
It's intermission time, folks, so hurry, hurry, hurry. Step right over to our refreshment center for the most extravagant array of refreshment goodies ever assembled under one roof. Enjoy breathtaking, mouth-watering goodies, everything from a snack to a delicious full meal. At our refreshment center, you'll find a large variety of goodies to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, or your sweet tooth. So hurry, hurry, hurry. Visit our refreshment center now. The show starts in 5 minutes. The show starts in 4 minutes. The show starts in 3 minutes. The show starts in 2 minutes. The show starts in 1 minute. And now, on with the show.
And we are back. Unfortunately, Rabbi Craig will not be able to stay with us for the rest of the show, but he does have something he wants to talk about before he leaves.
Hello, everybody. I hope that what I told you in the first half was informative to you. If you want to know more about it, you can go to my page, and there's a whole article taken from the book. But I want to talk to you about is a little more serious. It has to do with the IDF and the current war situation. Israel, for the first time ever, has more troops on the ground than they can handle. I forget what the exact number is now. Do you remember, Rabbi Nachman?
No, I know it's huge. I know they have 350,000 just in the north.
Okay, so they have found themselves unable to supply all of the soldiers with equipment that they desperately need. One very important equipment is the ceramic bulletproof vest that most of the IDF soldiers use. They cannot take American vests that have to be Israeli made. And I have some friends in Israel who are going to different companies trying to get supplies of them, and they are in short supplies. They're $1,000 a piece. So later this week, I'm hoping to get some information about them having additional supplies to send to the IDF soldiers. And if they do, I'll contact Rabbi Nachman. But if you could put word out to any of your friends and to you guys, the donations to buy these vests are greatly needed. I know before I was pushing donate to Mogun David, the ambulance and medical supply company, but I think let's buy them bulletproof vests so they don't need Mogun David, so they don't get wounded. But they're $1,000 a piece. I will let Rabbi Nachman know if we locate any more sources for these vests. We cleaned out one place last week, and they're out of them. So we're now looking for additional sources, and then we definitely need additional funding at $1,000 a vest.
If you want to make a donation on our YouTube page and on our web page and in our group on Facebook, there is a donation place on there. If you put in donation in and make a note on there that it is for the bulletproof vest, we will make sure that money gets to where it needs to get to, so that these vests can be made so that we can protect our soldiers.
Perfect. All right. Thank you. Lila Tov, everybody.
Thank you for being here.
No, my pleasure. Hey, and Rabbi Ancel, it's great seeing you comment on my page.
Why not? I enjoy it.
And have fun doing it too. God bless. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Okay, so that was Rabbi Craig Wyckoff, and always a pleasure to have him with us. And did I just hang up on Ancel? I think I did. Oops. Better get him back on here. I went to hang up the phone for Rabbi Craig, and I guess I hung up the phone on everybody.
That's okay.
So anyway, we're back. So anyway, yeah, if you want to make a donation, in the meantime, until we actually find out who to directly donate that money to, if you want to make a donation, you can make the donation through the Maimon Beit Knesset, and we'll make sure that that money, we'll hold on to that money until we find out the best place to send it, and then we'll get that money to them.
Not money. I have my vest.
Yeah.
Who can I
So
send it to?
yeah, it's amazing what we're seeing going on in the world. It's just crazy that we. I mean, we've seen Congress being interrupted with screams of free Palestine and stuff. The college campuses have gone absolutely off the rails completely. Threats, Dagestan, was it?
Yeah.
Where they actually were actually hunting Jews down in the airport. Flight came in from Tel Aviv, and a huge group of people were trying to find these passengers from Tel Aviv to hunt them down and kill them. They actually had to
They're Muslims, so
they had to hide them. They had to hide them, and they actually had to evacuate them from the airport by helicopter because these people were going to kill them. I mean, this is crazy what's going on. They're saying that the anti-Semitic incidents around the world are up 400%.
somebody would like to explain to me, because this sounds like what Hamas did. That's going back to 1939 and Dr. Mengele, what he did to the women. I don't understand law students. They're supposed to be the next people who are going to run the United States. Forget United States. It's scary. And it's everywhere. There is so much hate in this world. This world does not deserve to survive. This entire world doesn't deserve to survive. Not this way. That's not what it's meant to be. And that's the scary part. And this is what I'm afraid of, because some people saying Putin is dead, that he's got a second double that's running the country. Nobody knows. There will never be a state funeral, because then you're telling the truth.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows what's going on in China.
Well, we know that other than we have two battle groups, the United States, I should say, has two battle groups in the Mediterranean right now.
Turkey has one.
Yeah, we also found out today that that they are actually operating in the Red Sea. Mm-hmm. That they, well, actually, the IAF actually. Well, let me get the. I'm on Arut Sheva. Got to give them credit. Yeah, that the Houthi are now getting involved.
Yeah.
Says IAF on Tuesday thwarted an aerial threat in the area of the Red Sea. Its first operational interception by a aerial defense system since the beginning of the war, the IDF has said in a statement. A surface-to-surface missile was fired toward the Israeli territory from the area of the Red Sea and was successfully intercepted by the Arrow aerial defense system, the military confirmed. It added that IAF detection systems tracked the trajectory of the missile, which was successfully intercepted by the Aryel system. An optimal operational moment and location, which meant basically in a place where the falling debris wouldn't fall on anyway. Additionally, IAF fighters' jets were scrambled this morning due to an aerial threat identified in the area of the Red Sea and intercepted aerial threats that flew in the area. So earlier on Tuesday, Hazem al-Assad, a member of the political bureau of the Ansar Allah, the Houthi movement, and the member of the Shura Council, hinted that his organization was responsible for the launch of the hostile aircraft towards Eilat, Israel's southernmost city. So we can see now we have a third terrorist group, the Houthi, getting involved in this. They say they smell blood. They smell blood, so they're going to come out of the woodwork now. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. The Dagestan airport one was just absolutely an absolute shock.
Dagestan is not a big country, but it's 100% Muslim.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find the thing on that. It was an eyewitness.
It's not just Dagestan. You got Kurdistan, Uzbekistan. They're all Muslim.
Yeah, so it's.
This is what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, there's so much going on that it's hard to keep track of everything on here.
Exactly. That's what I'm afraid of, because if Israel is going to be split in too many fronts, Israel, I know, I've been there, I fought with them. I know they will use the nuclear weapon, and that is going to be the start of the Third World War. I always said that Iran is going to force Israel's fate, and they'll use it.
Yeah. The thing that really confused me, what's coming out of the United States, they seem to be talking out both sides of their mouth at the same time. We had Blinken just made a statement which just defies logic. Says we must both defend Israel and aid Palestinian citizens.
Today, Russia went on Israel's side. So it changes by the hour.
Yeah.
People saying that Putin died October the 26th and that his double is now running the country. I don't know.
That those rumors always fly around. It's.
Well, I believe he's not alive.
Yeah.
I don't believe he's still living.
We shall see. The other thing that really got me was the Red Cross. The Red Cross was making demands of Israel today to have access to to those prisoners, Hamas, that are in their prisons. When they've never had, the Red Cross has never had an issue with Israel's treatment of prisoners and detainees. However, the Red Cross doesn't seem to be even interested in what's going on in Gaza. The 200 and some people, there are 222, 223 people of our people that are being held captive in Gaza, and they seem to have no concern for them whatsoever. I'm not really surprised the UN has, the Red Cross has been very anti-Jewish, very anti-Israel for its existence since the establishment of the State of Israel. Pardon?
The UN.
Yeah, the
They've
UN.
never
Yeah,
been on the,
yeah, that
they've
was.
never said anything good about Israel.
Well, Yad
Never.
Vashem's chair spoke in the UN today. And again, this is coming from a Sheva. It's the station I always go to. Okay, Yad Vashem chairman Danny Dayan on Tuesday slammed, Israeli ambassador United. That's not really the story that I wanted. He actually got up in the UN and told basically told him what it was. It's a moral failure to sit there and to let's see. Okay, on Monday night, Aaron told the Security Council, from this day on, each time you look at me, you will remember what saying silent in the face of evil means. Just like my grandparents and my grandparents and grandparents of millions of Jews, from now on, my team will wear a yellow star. We will wear the star until you wake up and condemn the atrocities of Hamas. We walk with a yellow star as a symbol of pride, a reminder that we swore to fight back, to defend ourselves. Never again is now. And he's basically calling out the UN for their BS. I mean, they had nothing to say after October 7th. They had absolutely nothing to say until Israel actually started fighting back, and then they started crying war crime, and screaming for a ceasefire and all this other stuff. The UN has become a joke. The UN has become a club for tyrants.
Yep. That's why I call them the United Nazis, not the UN.
They've lost all sense of legitimacy. For years they have. I mean, their constant condemnation of Israel in the face of what's going on, being attacked and everything else. And, they never have anything to say, never condemn the attackers, but always condemn the attacked. It's just crazy. What's going on in these American...
the House today, talking to a person who's supposed to become the head of Human Services. And Cruz asked her, is there a difference between a man and a woman? And she wouldn't answer.
Yeah.
So he said, okay, let's go differently. Can a man have a baby? And she said, yes. Does anybody believe anymore in the United States? Does anybody believe in God anymore? Does anybody have any beliefs or faith in anything? I'm looking at these students, law students, who are supposed to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And these people eventually will end up as lawyers, maybe into the House, maybe Senate, maybe even president. I don't want these people they're already now anti-Semites. I don't want them to be part of the government, but you already have anti-Semites in the government anyways. You allow Muslims like AOC and Tlaib and all the other ones to be in the House. So what's the difference? Let the whole House be Muslim. Yeah. And then see what happens. What the United States needs is a revolution.
Well, speaking of the United States, there was an op-ed piece on a Root Sheva by Ron Tarosian. I apologize if I mispronounce your name. The U.S. Jewish community cannot accept the fact that all along the Jewish Zionists were right. The only place a Jew can truly be safe is Israel. The article goes on to say there is so much to say from this for this historic time. Only 3 weeks ago, our people were slaughtered, raped, and beheaded. The worst of our days, worst days of our people since the Holocaust. And already we are being attacked, already being asked to explain, zero time to think, to mourn, to reflect. Instead, we are under attack. with lies and anti-Semitism at all levels. It wasn't enough to burn us alive. You also have to threaten us in the streets worldwide. Not enough to commit terrorism in our country, but also attack at all levels. As an Israeli, I realize the reality we are facing, and as I have said from the start of the war, it is us or them. We will win, and that's all finished. Israel is in a state of war, and that causes chaos. And there is a lot of chaos today in Israel and in the American Jewish community. As an American in New York City, I see a broken American Jewry. I see an American Jewish community which is defiantly, deafeningly silent, well-behaved, and which refuses to accept reality. There isn't a Jewish organization equipped for many reasons, but foremost among them is that their value system cannot accept the reality. The American Jewish community cannot accept the fact that all along Zionists have been right. The only place a Jew can ever truly be safe is Israel. Self-defense for a Jew is needed. We are our only allies. And yet, this blind devotion to liberal values has placed us in this system. The vast overwhelming amount of American Jews are Democrat. They kvetch constantly about the academic system, where they complain that about people who hate Jews, and they don't know how to accept it. They can't fathom the fact that in Israel there's a right-wing government, and that the whole fallacy they've convinced themselves is reality. Is over. Campuses are on fire, and they don't know what to do with it. The American Jews still won't accept the fact that there has to be a complete re-education. American Jewish leaders must all be replaced. Boy, that needs to be said. So a few of them have learned that the great Ze'ev Jablonsky, whose words should be listened to today, Jablonsky, who spoke of the need for Jewish self-defense and for Jews to have guns, and completely against the value system of today's American Jewish leaders, who for years have taught us that multicultural dialogue, gun control, and weakness were Jewish values, and I have complained about that for years. Hence why I'm no longer teaching in a Jewish school. Organizations like the ADL have been destroyed by people who simply espouse liberal, not Jewish values. The American Jews simply won't listen. They refuse to take any responsibility and continue to stifle discussion. The Jewish world is in crisis. New leadership has to emerge quickly that can adapt to the new world in which the Jewish community finds itself. Scary times. Amen. Man, that is...
Has anybody listened to that supposed Jew who calls himself a Jew, Bernie Sanders?
Yeah.
That guy needs to burn in hell. The way
this goes exactly to... This is
his
exactly...
parents must be turning over in the grave.
This is exactly what he's talking about.
What about Schumer? What about Schiff?
Well, that's what he's talking about. I mean, they're so entrenched in this liberal thought that they keep saying that these are Jewish values, and it's BS. It's not Jewish values. They're liberal values. Need to get it straight. And he's right. We need a change in, Jewish leadership in this country. I'm going to say it again. I've said it many times before. You've all heard me. Kahani was right. Kahani was absolutely right.
Nobody listened to him.
No. Well, they didn't listen to him, and now it's
Reagan
too late.
was right. What's her name? Golda Meir was right.
Yeah.
It's the point.
Yeah, Shimon Peres.
Israel always banked on the United States, and whatever United States said, Israel did. When the United States stopped the war, stop the war. And believe me, Biden wants to stop the war. I can guarantee you. So does Blinken.
Yeah.
But this time you can't listen. If you listen, it will be the end of Israel. I mean, they're surrounded 20,000 to one soldier and outnumbered in missiles. Okay, they don't have nuclear weapons, and this is what I'm afraid of. You're gonna back in a wolf into the corner, and that wolf is gonna come out fighting. And like I told you, Aryel, whether it's true or not, but I know it's true that nuclear weapons has been sitting on the table in the war room in Israel for many years because of the threat of Iran. Nobody else. Hamas
Yeah.
and Hezbollah can be taken care of. Syria is nothing. But Iran.
Oh yeah, yeah. Syria's just always been a puppet.
Iran's not. Assad is nothing. His father was a bastard, worse than his son. But Syria is nothing. Iran is a problem, and if they start shooting, I'm telling you, Israel gonna have no choice, and that's what scares me.
Well, at least we do
The whole
have.
world. I don't care what the whole world thinks. Israel has got to listen to themselves. Israel has got to look after themselves.
Well, I'm gonna go
not rely on anybody else.
I'm gonna go
Yeah,
back to the Torah.
Yep.
I mean, we're coming up on that parsha pretty soon, where Yosef
Yep.
was in the prison of Potiphar,
Yep.
and he interpreted the dreams of the two, the bearer of the cups and the bearer of the whatever. Anyway, when he was when the one was freed and went back to the bearer of the cups was freed and went back to Pharaoh, Joseph told him to remember him before Pharaoh.
Mm-hmm.
And God said, you just placed your trust in a man rather than me. You are going to stay in this prison for 2 more years just because you thought that man would save you rather than me. It's the same thing here. Israel has got to realize that do not listen to the world.
Exactly.
Put your faith in God and let God take care of it. We can take care of our own.
I remember Yom Kippur War, 6-Day War. The Golan Heights. What was the Golan Heights? Syria had the Golan Heights.
Yeah.
And they had bunkers with big guns, and they were shooting down because it's a hilly area, down on the kibbutz. Then Israel had enough, and they took over the Golan Heights. Now Syria, there's nothing they can do because now we can see when they're coming.
Yeah, we have Eli Cohen to thank for that. The master spy who went in and became second in command.
Yep.
As a spy, as a Jewish Israeli spy, taking pictures on the Golan Heights to pinpoint these things for Israel so they would know exactly where to strike.
He's the real hero of Israel.
Oh, yeah, he really is. I mean, our good friend Richard Ruttenberg actually did an album dedicated to him. So, yeah. Okay, so we are about at our end of our time. So I think we've flooded everybody with enough information to keep them scratching their head for a while. I mean, there is a lot of information coming out, and
it's not a nice world. It's unfortunate,
as long as this keeps going on, then the Rabbis Discuss. This is going to be the topic. We're going to keep you informed because the Western mainstream media is not going to. So we have an obligation to make sure that our people are well informed. So I'm going to turn you down here for a moment, Ancel.
Okay.
I want to thank everybody for being in the room tonight, in the chat room. I hope you learned something. I hope you have a better understanding of what's going on out there in the world and the history of the Jews period. And like I said, we are going to stay on this subject until this war is essentially done and over with. Tomorrow night, as usual, will be the Torah study with myself and Rabbi Ancel again. And then Friday night at 8 p.m. is Kabbalat and Ma'ariv, the Shabbat service. And Shabbat morning at 10 a.m., all times are Eastern, is the Shacharit and Musaf service. Monday is Zeta's Story Corner, because we all need a break from the madness, even for just an hour. And Zeta will be happy to tell us some stories just to get our minds off of it for now. Then right back here next Tuesday for the Rabbis Discuss, when we will bring you up to date on what's going on. Until then, everyone, we will simply say, stay safe and Laila Tov.